friends, it is I, your art teacher, Miss Claire. I hear Daisy coming to say hi. Hi, Daisy. So, today we are going to be doing some printmaking with objects we have around us, particularly recycled objects. So, printmaking is a process, I think we've talked a little bit about this before, where we are making multiples. That means that I could make a stamp and stamp it and then do it again. It means it's very easy for me to make a couple of copies. It's sort of like a copy machine. That's what printmaking is often about. So we're going to be using objects that we find maybe in a recycling today for stamps. So we're going to try to do some reusable materials. We're going to need, in addition to recycled materials, which I'm just going to try a couple things. So I have this plastic lid. I have a cork. I have some crumpled paper. I have this plastic container, which I'm going to cut because it's a little big for me. And then I have this cool textured cardboard. So this is what we're going to use to make stamps, which if that sounds confusing, I'm going to show you what we mean. So some recycled materials, maybe some materials that we pull out of our recycling bin, or something that might otherwise get thrown away that we could repurpose. So that's one. Now we need something to paint on, something to put our stamps on. I decided to use also some other recycling. If you have a paper bag or any sort of paper in your recycling, you could use that, which is pretty cool that we could use all stuff that we are repurposing. So you might also see that I have tapes and paper down here. That is to protect my work surface. So if we're using paint, it's probably a good idea to wear protective stuff. Like maybe we want to wear an old t-shirt, so put something down to keep the paint off of our table or wherever we're working. So this is for my work surface, and then this is going to be what I paint on, which I think is going to be kind of cool. I kind of like that it's brown paper. I think it'll make a really neat surface. It's sort of thin paper. It's just a paper bag. So again, if you have some recycling that you want to use to paint on, you could even use something like this. These advertisements that I'm using as table protected, maybe you want to paint right on that. That might be kind of neat too. All right, we got recycled materials, we have paper, and then we need a little bit of paint. So I have a couple of colors. Now it's probably best to stick to just one or two colors, because once we get it on our homemade stamps, it's kind of hard to get off. And if you want to mix stuff up, that's fine too. Like maybe you want to mix some colors, but it's up to you. You'll see exactly what I mean. So I have a container for my paint. I have a little bit of paint. So I'm probably only going to go with one or two colors, probably not three. I also have some water to wash my brush out, because, you know, we always wash our brush out before we stick it into a new color. Does anybody remember why we do that? Why would we clean our brush between colors? Is it so that we keep our paint colors nice and clean, nice and fresh, so that we can make sure we don't mix them up on accident? Because it's okay to mix colors on purpose, but we don't want to mix them on accident. So I have a paintbrush, I have water, and I have a container for my paint. Now, tempera paint is going to be most washable. I don't have any tempera at home, so I'm going to use acrylic. But no matter what, we want to try to keep paint off of ourselves and off of our home. So I've got a surface here, and if you can wear an old paint shirt or a smock or something to keep paint off of you, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm going to go with orange, and I might only use one color. So I'm going to start with orange, and I'm going to put a little in my container. Remember, we want to try to save paint, so we don't need to start with too much. I just put a little bit in here. Now, we're not painting with our paintbrushes, so why do we have paintbrushes? Well, the reason being, it's going to help us to get paint on our stamps. Have you ever used a stamp before? Sometimes stamps might be in the shape of something. It means we can stamp it in some ink, put it on paper, and then we can do it again and again and again. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to do some experimenting with making our own stamps from stuff around the house. So, I have some recycled materials. I like the texture of this, and I think we can get it to transfer, but this is really big. So you might have some stuff that you think, that might make a cool stamp, but you might need an adult to help you cut these. So, I'm going to cut a piece of this, and I'm going to cut a shape, because in addition to having this texture, it might be neat to have a shape out of it. So I'm going to make a triangle. How many sides do triangles have? Do you remember? 3 sides. Okay, I'm going to cut a triangle. All right. So here's one stamp I have. You can kind of feel the surface. So if I just stuck this right in my paint, it might not work really well. It might get too much and then I'm gonna have a little bit of a puddle of paint. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my paintbrush to help get paint on my stamp. So I'm gonna take a little paintbrush, little paint. Do you see how it's just going on the taller parts? Because stamps have different size pieces. That is how they make the designs. It's not just a drawing. If it were just a drawing on a piece of something, we wouldn't be able to make it stamp. Okay. See how I fill that in? You can see it doesn't fill all the holes. Now I'm going to try stamping on my paper. Let's see how this goes. Pretty cool. I might say next time I need a little bit more paint. Let's try it again. I'm going to add a little bit more paint. And then I'm going to try some of my other materials. So I want you to look around and say, what do we have that we could make into a stamp? Now you want to make sure it's okay to use something. So make sure you check with your family to make sure you're not using something that can't get paint on it. Now I just took items that I would put in the recycling. That's where this cardboard came from. Oh, that's what's working pretty well. Look at that, pretty cool. Now, I am also going to try this. I like that this is going to make a nice circle. So I'm going to put a little bit of paint on this. Actually, I might try a different color. So now that this has orange paint on it, the stamp I just made, I probably want to keep that orange because if I put another color, it might mix. Unless you want to do it on purpose. Maybe I'll do a little on purpose. So I'm going to use some black paint. I think I'm going to stick with just orange and black today. Okay. Now I'm going to try... Remember, I'm washing out my paintbrush. Do you see how I'm doing that before I switch to my new color? So the way that we clean paintbrushes is we put it in the water, kind of swirl it around. And then the other good thing about taking it out of the water is to try to get the extra water off. So I'm kind of pushing my brush against the edge because I don't want to put water in my paint. It might make it not as good. All right, let's take a little bit of black paint. Remember, we're not painting with our paintbrushes. We are using it to help get paint onto our stamps so they don't get kind of mucky. All right, so I've got a circle with this cork. I bet this is going to look pretty cool. Are you ready? That looks pretty neat, and it's kind of got a bubbly surface. Now you might be thinking, Miss Claire, what kind of picture are we making? I'm going to leave that up to you. I want you to see what kind of materials you can use to make stamps. And then whatever kind of picture you feel like making, that is up to you. We're making stamps, so that means we're not painting with a paintbrush. We are using other materials to get paint on our paper. And maybe it's going to be abstract. That means it doesn't look like anything in particular. Because we all have different things we could use in our homes, I don't know what you have, but I would love to find out. Look at those circles. That's pretty fun. I also like that I got to use this paper because I was going to recycle this otherwise. And now I'm turning it into artwork, which is pretty neat in my opinion. Okay, now I'm going to try to switch to black on my triangle. And I might get another color underneath. But you know what I don't want to do? It's okay maybe to mix paint on my stamp, but I want to be careful not to mix paint in my palette where my paint is. So I'm keeping my colors separate. Now you might have a bigger space than this because it's kind of hard to keep paint separate sometimes. So I'm just trying to be really careful. So you might have a better system with you. Oh, it's kind of neat. It printed orange and black. Wow, it's pretty cool. You know, it kind of reminds me of a bat. Maybe this is a cave picture because I'm taking it where it's taking me. I'm seeing what shapes I could make. Now, the other material you might try using, what about some string? I'm going to see if I can pull string around because we're painting in a unique way. We're making stamps, we're making marks, but we're not painting with a paintbrush. So I am going to take this string. This might be a little bit messy. Also, I'm going to make sure that I put my paintbrush in my water so it doesn't dry out. I don't want to ruin my paintbrush. I'm going to take my string and I am going to dip it in paint and then I'm going to pull it around. That's going to be an interesting experiment. All right, I get some orange paint. See how, try not to get too much paint on my hands. Try to keep myself kind of clean. oh well, it's art. It's okay for art to be messy. And it all washes off our hands. Even if you only have acrylic, it's still gonna wash off. All right, now, we might want a little bit more paint than we did on our other ones. Okay, let's see. If I can get it off my finger. Okay. Just gonna kind of drag it around. Ooh, I'm gonna hit my paper with it. Now, something else we could do is we could put paint on this and then fold our paper and pull it out. That might be something neat to try. So you might be able to see, I have a couple of marks. This is some string down here that made a mark. Some over here, kind of cool. So we're just playing with materials. I know this is something that is a theme in what we do, but I think it's really fun to learn what we can do. So I'm playing with this string. Now I might add a little bit more paint, and I'm actually gonna add a little black paint. So we'll see how this goes. Now maybe it's springing around. Oh, I actually really like the marks I'm getting from that. That's pretty cool. Do a little bit more and then I'm gonna show you. Okay. It's really good that I put down this paper to protect my table because otherwise I think I'd be getting a little bit of paint on it. All right. Now look at all these black marks. Look at those cool marks. All of these little black marks are from the string because I'm just experimenting to see what I can get. Now, I'm gonna try a part of this lid because there's some texture on here. Now, if you need to cut something, you might wanna find an adult because it's kind of hard to cut plastic and things like this. It's not like cutting paper. Now, I like the inside of this ridge. It has some texture that I think might be cool. So I'm gonna cut a piece because if you can feel it, and you might notice on the inside of, see that texture on the inside of a soda lid? So I'm gonna take this piece. Now, back to the paintbrush to help us get some paint on this. I'm gonna go with orange. I think orange might work well. Now, remember we're using a paintbrush to try to not get too much paint. We just want a little bit for something like this. So it's not got a whole lot. It's just got a little bit. You can see it's pretty even, but not too much. Because we might lose the shape if we put too much paint. Okay. Oh, I kind of like that. That is not what I expected from this shape. It's making some different lines. Do you see this orange and this orange? That's what I just did. And I got all of these things out of my recycling bin, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. So I want you to experiment with the shapes that you can find from your recycling bin. I also thought maybe about using some crumpled paper. A small piece of crumpled paper. Maybe I'll try this. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. Oh, I like that too. That's pretty neat. Maybe I want to get a little black and orange. See all these shapes? So think about what you have that you could use and maybe say, hello family, what do you think that I could use from the recycling bin to make a stamp? So I hope that you, have had a nice time making some recycled stamp paintings with me. I miss all of you and I hope that you are safe and well and having a nice time with your family and enjoying the springtime and seeing the flowers bloom. Looks like we're gonna get some good sunshine starting right about now. So until I see you again in the classroom, I can't wait. I hope that you are well and I will see you next time.